From LA Late headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LA Late.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of April 20th, 2022 right now with major financial news across the board breaking this afternoon. Huge details from the shores of Monica, California to the shores of your home. We'll go over the breaking news happening today, brand new, as the Build Back Better Act gets a new push by Congress as the refocusing of the White House is to give more economic policy front and center attention. I'll go over the latest details on that front today. Then, the Federal Reserve trying to tighten those interest rates by raising them up a half basis points this month. What does that mean for your benefits? But moreover, the Federal Reserve getting new economic data today. It is shocking. The new economic data that came in today was the new home sales. After 4 months down, what do the new home sales say today? All the latest details and what the mortgage rate came in on that front as well. Remember, the Federal Reserve is trying to reduce that inflation by raising interest rates. But is the economic data showing a slowdown of the economy? All the latest details on that today. Then one state is giving new potential $2,000 stimulus checks as it has a surplus of money from the third stimulus package. Sound familiar? It should. We'll go over whether other states could follow thereafter. This major check is exactly what we've been talking on this channel for a long time. Then we'll be looking to the exciting shocker of oil. As the oil prices continue to surge higher, we now learn today that one of the biggest alliances of those oil countries tightened, released less oil in the month of March. This is as more shortage of oil continues to spur. And why is France, Germany, and the United States trying to get on point for a sixth stimulus package to get new oil, wheat, and grain release? Meantime, we'll be looking at the situation on those wheat and grain, why the wheat and raw materials could go up another 40%, says a major bank today. We'll have those details across the board. And then, of course, later in this video, we're going to go over new stimulus checks, fourth stimulus checks, and third stimulus checks that have now landed. Big checks, big money for you. They're brand new and they're breaking news. They're coming up later in this video. We're going to show you how to get those huge checks. From the shores of Santa Monica, California for April 20th, 2022, it's a big afternoon of Afternoons LA, and it starts right now. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're having a beautiful day. For April 20th, 2022, major developing breaking news. We're going to go over all that incredible news in today's recording for the shores of Santa Monica, California. A lot of major details to go over. I'm going to start first, of course, with the Build Back Better Act, as we now have indication that this may not be a potential recession we're going into, but maybe a war recession. What's the difference? The likelihood of this U.S. economy mirroring what we saw of a prior recession is getting very dicey, as the economic data is inconsistent. Well, let's go over what happened minutes ago and what could be happening thereafter. A new analyst, strategic investment analyst named David Roche, says that the markets are underestimating where this economy could go in, and it could be heading into a war recession where it does not mirror prior recessions. Very interesting, because, you know, in a recession, we don't have inflation. We could still have inflation and then also a recession on top of that. This is as the economic data that came in this last 7 days has been confusing. Not confusing with the White House. And the White House is set to repivot on its economic policy. A series of new reports today say that the White House has internal meetings, advance of the midterm elections, to get the focus back on the domestic agenda, your money, economic policies, because Americans are getting a little bit tired of hearing about money to Ukraine. They want money to you. As inflationary concerns, recessionary concerns, oil, wheat, and grain continue to grow across the board, Americans saying, get back on point. So the White House's internal team is trying to get this Build Back Better Act to a potential vote this month, and also try to resell the American people on what third stimulus and also the infrastructure has. And guess what? One state is one of many that now has a surplus of money given to it from third stimulus and set to give you a stimulus check. Wow, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? It's coming up later in this video. The economic data that the Wall Street executives have, and also those congressional leaders when we talk about Build Back Better Act, is that the U.S. economy is stalling up. The non-farm payroll jobs released just days ago, missing 60,000 jobs shorter. Then the GDP number missing the extent to which the U.S. economy is growing, not so much. 6.9%, Wall Street is expecting 7.1%, and contracting to 4% in just a few months, potentially zero by the end of the year because that's recession. And then we have a series of other numbers like the housing numbers that came in new form just minutes ago. I've been featuring the housing market numbers on this channel for over 2-3 months. I've been saying the housing market is already in recession. Well, the data that came in today for April 20th, 2022 is not any better. And this is big news for Build Back Better Act. It's also big news for the Federal Reserve, its interest rate policies, its inflationary tightening situation, and of course your SS300. The price of a home sold in the month of March went up. Interesting. But the sales of the homes fell. This is what I call about a bubble environment. So new home sales fell for the month of March 2.7%, seasonally adjusted in a new report obtained by LA News Today. The National Association of Realtors revealed that the number of sales was down, and they readjusted the numbers for the month of February even worse. Now, I've been telling you for several weeks that the number of homes sold has been down 4 consecutive months. This is as the mortgage rates continue to surge out of control to its highest levels of a generation, now over 5%. The average rate of a 30-year fixed mortgage is now standing at 3.29% in January, then 3.9% in February, and now 5.35% in April 2022. That's a major move. 3.29 to 5.35 in less than 60 days. This is causing a major drop in home sales, and it takes a little bit of time for that drop to show because guess what? The market starts to get more inventory, starts to build up, they can't sell the home, then the price of the homes drop dramatically. The sale of homes priced between $100,000 and $250,000 were 21% lower compared to a year ago, with the price of homes between $750,000 and $1 million rose 30%. But then prices above homes price of $1 million dropped as well, 25%. The takeaway is that the economic data is not good. It's not good for the housing industry. And what does this mean for your benefits? What does this mean for your Build Back Better Act? What does this mean for the Federal Reserve? The Federal Reserve has to understand the situation. The Federal Reserve will have another FOMC meeting in just a few days after it tightened policy in the month of April, a 1/4 basis point. It's likely to do 2 then half basis point increases because 1/4 is not the consensus among the Fed governors. Half basis point, what does it do for the U.S. economy? It makes it harder to borrow money, whether it's credit card payments or payments on that car. But does it solve inflation? My analysis today does not solve inflation because we now have 3 supply chain disruptions. We have the supply chain disruption coming out of the COVID lockdowns in the United States. Then we have the supply chain disruption caused by Vladimir Putin invading Ukraine. And the third one is getting worse by the day. It's the lockdown now in Shanghai and China caused by that subvariant of Omicron. And that subvariant of Omicron is very important because guess what? We have new details out of New York City that says this could cause a major pulling back of the growth of the New York economy. That's just one state talking about its impact across the board. The federal governors are trying to reduce inflation. And in reducing inflation, they're trying to raise inflation and interest rates, but it may not work because the price to get the product from that point to you is getting harder. More difficult. It's called supply chain disruption. And now we don't have 1, we don't have 2, we don't have 3 situations, and nothing the federal Fed governors have to solve inflation exists when it's caused by supply chain disruption. So another way, they have nothing in their toolbox to solve supply chain disruption. And if they raise interest rates, which they're going to, half basis point twice, and it doesn't solve inflation, then what do you have? You have higher interest rates and you don't have a solution to inflation. Now, what about your benefits? Joe Biden had promised at his presidential platform of JoeBiden.com to swap your COLA for inflation. That would raise your benefits up another $200 a month, not just this month, not just this year, but a lifetime, and then another $100 thereafter, potentially later this year. How does he do this? By swapping COLA for inflation. COLA is your current benchmark for benefits. And that COLA benchmark is not a good benchmark because COLA doesn't really move. Inflation moves a lot more. Where's inflation tracking right now? It's likely at a little bit more than 8%. So Joe Biden made that swap from COLA to inflation right today. You lock in another $200 more per month. Where's inflation going to be later this year when they reassess your benefits again in December? It's likely 4%. That's $300 more per month. Not just 1 month, not just 1 year, but lifetime. Because once your benefits go up, they never go down. Now, if they swap that COLA for inflation, you want them to do it when inflation's hot. How hot is inflation right now? I got it right last year when I said inflation was going to be 8% in December 2021. I repeated the same prediction in January, and then in February. And then in March, I said it's likely hotter. Was inflation higher than 8% in March? It was. It came in about 0.3% higher than the month of February overall. But when we look at a lot of products that you buy, like energy, oil, wheat, gasoline, it went up 11% compared to the month of February. Imagine 30 days it went up 11%. Let's look at the price of that wheat and those groceries. They went up about 9% for some of the groceries. That's a substantial move in just 30 days. So that's what's important to understand, is that the inflation is likely tracking higher than 8% right today. And that is good news for you, because if Joe made that swap from COLA to inflation right today, you'd lock in that $200 more per month. So make the hashtag a call. Joe, make the call to swap that COLA for inflation, locks you $200 more per month. If you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits. Then where's inflation going to be later this year? Do you get another $100 then? Well, I just don't think the Federal Reserve is going to be able to get that inflation down to 1.9%, its current target. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to get it down to 4% inflation. That's another $100 more per month. That is good news, because that would be $300 more per month, not just this month, not just this year, but lifetime. Interesting across the board. Now, what is also at issue today is that when we look at the situation that the Federal Reserve is dealing with, when we look at the situation that the senators and the House members are dealing with the Build Back Better Act, the economic data is really just a miss. And we have a lot of new data today, and one of the big data today is one that's very familiar to you. And that data to you is the number of COVID cases. Yeah. So the New York governor today says there's a rising case of subvariant of Omicron in New York. And while I'm not doing health analysis on this channel, I'm doing economic analysis. She says that these rising strains may cause economic disruption in the state of New York. We're taking this very seriously. You don't know every single variant that comes, and this one could be worse than the prior one. We're not panicking in the moment, but we want to make sure we're smart about this. The governor of New York, in her latest comments today, says that while we don't know the situation of the variant, subvariant, we do know that it could cause more supply chain disruption in New York and higher inflation. Because remember, when you can't get the product to you, then the inflation kicks in even higher. Now, Philadelphia was the first major U.S. city on Monday to reinstate its COVID mask mandate. And the situation for this changing numbers is that I suspect that the peak numbers may not be re-hit, but the supply chain disruption may. When you have inflation that's really tracking high, higher 8% in February and likely 8.3% in March, you have Fed governors like Bullard and Daley and the president Jay Powell looking at the situation, saying, we need to come in more aggressively. There isn't anything more aggressively. I got to tell you, supply chain disruption is not solved by raising interest rates. And if the Fed governors come in too strong, then guess what? We're going into recession. Now, the interesting situation today is that third stimulus has a lot more money available to it than even the U.S. government thought. Now, later in this video, I'm going to show you how viewers of this channel are getting lots of money this week from third stimulus, as they've gotten over $150,000, averaging $45,000 since early 2021. That's the viewers of this channel. But now, a very familiar refrain is that there's extra money available. They're saying out a stimulus check. In one particular state, that government of that state is now saying, we're seeing on all this extra money left over from the American Rescue Plan Act, third stimulus, and we're going to send out a stimulus check. Does this sound familiar? It should. In 2020 and 2021, I told you that Steve Mnuchin, then Treasury Secretary, said the states had a lot of extra money. Nancy Pelosi was asking for more money for states. And he said, the Treasury Secretary, Mnuchin, that there was a lot of extra money just reallocated to citizens. Well, guess what? We're now learning that states may have extra money. This is on top of that continuing resolution just a few weeks ago, where they said we're putting in their county stimulus. We're talking about leftover money from third stimulus. We're not even talking about CR. And states could be repurposing that money for U.S. stimulus check. Wow. So what is one state doing? That's coming up after the commercial break. Plus, what the federal government is doing to give you big stimulus checks, that's coming up after the commercial break. Now, when we talk about the sixth stimulus package, which is happening this month, remember stimulus packages overlap. We have third, fourth, sixth, and seventh all happening right now at the same time. We have breaking news today for April 20th, 2022 about one of those provisions, oil. You know, when we're trying to deal with the situation with oil, we're trying to get more oil produced because when there's a shortage of oil, the price goes up. If the shortage of oil is not solved, the price continues to go up. So what did we learn today for April 20th, 2022? We learned that OPEC was not helping us in the month of March. Does that sound familiar? It should, because I said in the month of March. Remember when I told you that OPEC, that alliance of countries that are major oil producers, had a press conference, refused to answer questions at that press conference, refused to increase production of oil? Well, today we learned a little bit more about that. We learned today that the OPEC's countries in the month of March, and that includes the OPEC plus countries, began producing 1.45 million barrels less in the month of March than initially thought. Wait a second. Let's say that again. Yeah. In the month of March, when we were trying to get OPEC to increase production because there was a supply chain shortage of oil because of Russia, OPEC did not actually maintain its level like we actually thought. We're hoping the OPEC increase level. OPEC didn't maintain levels. OPEC actually cut levels. Does that smell horrible? It does smell horrible. So let's say that again. We need more gasoline to be produced because Russia's oil was no longer available. We're hoping that OPEC would increase production. It didn't. We knew that in the month of March. We thought they kept at the same level. Now we learned that they actually decreased production. You know what that does for them? It makes them richer. You know what it does for us? It makes us poorer. Not a good look across the board. Now, this is on top of what we're dealing with the Western allies. Let me go over the analysis for you right now. This is where you got to run numbers really quickly in your head. I'm going to run them quickly in my head for your head right now. We lost 3 million barrels of gasoline in the month of March when Putin's oil was taken out of the equation. When we started embargoing Putin's oil, we lost 3 million barrels of oil per day. That's Russian oil. Okay, so we're less 3 million per day. That's pretty easy. What did we learn just now in this breaking news report for April 20th, 2022? We also lost 1.45 million barrels a day because of OPEC cutting production. That's horrible. So now we're minus 3, minus 1.45. We're minus 4.45 million barrels a day. And we haven't even started to solve the situation on our side. So per day, starting the month of March, we lost 1.45 million barrels a day. This type of news could send the markets into turmoil. So how much oil did we pick up if we lost 4.45 million barrels per day? We picked up 1 million barrels a day from the U.S. Strategic Reserves released per day from the United States government. And then we picked up an additional 500,000 barrels a day from the Western allies. So we picked up 1.5 million barrels and we lost 4.5. So that's not really good, is that? No. We lost 4.5 and we picked up 1.5. Yeah, so we're just not looking good so far on these numbers. That's still missing 3 million barrels. Hello, that's basically where we started day one of the invasion of Ukraine. Awful. What does that mean for the gasoline prices in the pump? They're not coming down. If you look at the U.S. price of gasoline, you look at the international price of gasoline, it's not coming down. The international price of Brent crude today is hovering at 108, 109. It was 112 yesterday. And the price of gasoline at the pump for you, the US AAA average for unleaded, is still hovering at 410, 420, 405. It's still about the same way. Remember, we use the international price of Brent crude as our benchmark as much as the United States. If that was not enough for you to run to the EV manufacturer, let's go to let me just cite it personal. Let me just insert some commentary just out of nowhere. Today, one of the country's biggest manufacturers of cars in the United States, even though it's a German manufacturer, produces a lot of cars in North Carolina, announced the launch of its third electric vehicle. It's good news. There's a third electric vehicle coming from who? BMW. Oh, that's great. BMW launched a new electric vehicle. It's a V6. A V6. That's like, half a slice of bacon. After all this wait, Germany's ready for a V6 electric vehicle. How much is it? $120,000. I can't make this. I almost cursed. I can't make this stuff up. It's $120,000 for a V6. Why don't you just give us a Why don't we just give us a 4-cylinder for $90,000? Say make it a day. Yeah. Oh goodness. That's Brian DC math. Okay, so let's go back to some more bad news for you. The other bad news is that the price of your bread at the supermarket, which you're not going to take your $90,000 4-cylinder electric BMW to go buy, is potentially going higher. So you may need the V6 from BMW, which apparently is $110,000. A V6 for $110,000. What are they thinking? Guess what? Your price of bread could go even 40% higher. JP Morgan Chase says that raw materials could surge another 40% because we don't have embedded the true extent of this war in Ukraine. The war in its position right now has been priced in, but we don't know what's going to happen next. Yeah, we really don't. And by the China issue, we don't know how bad it can get across the board. Really shocking. Now, great news on that student loan front. I had a live chat yesterday where viewers said, where I said to viewers, ask your questions. 9 out of 10 questions was about student loan debts. Great questions. Viewers wanted, moreover, to know about this major breaking news, which I delivered yesterday on April 19th, 2022. The major announcement yesterday on April 19th was the White House was giving about 3 million students loans. And we didn't know how or where or what the forgiveness involved. Today we learned them. It took 24 hours for the education secretary to educate us about it. Secretary Miguel Cardona finally today explained that it will now be forgiving millions of borrowers whose debts have a payment plan of 20 to 25 years. What's at issue? The education, and I'm going to go very slowly because this is very complicated for me as well. The education department said that it will make a one-time revision to millions of borrowers to compensate them for what's been called long-term failures to contracted loan providers. The income-driven repayment plan is designed to provide loan forgiveness to borrowers who had tied their income for 20 to 25 years. Many borrowers had tried to successfully get relief out of the programs, but they couldn't. So the education department said it will do a one-time adjustment to provide credit towards loan forgiveness of income-driven repayment plans for any month in which a borrower made a payment. And then the officials will be able to credit borrowers regardless of whether they're enrolled in the income program or not. Is that confusing for you? Maybe it's not for you because maybe you had the loan borrowing. Congratulations to Chef John Meyer, who, because of watching my videos where I'm confused about the loan forgiveness, got $9,000 of student loan forgiven this week because he was watching this channel. So I'm hopeful that I'm explaining to someone because I'm getting confused myself. The We have an ongoing ruling that will take a look at see what statutes would qualify for the IDR credit, and there may be potential more use for us to improve those rules going forward, says the Undersecretary of Education. We're looking at something called IDR forgiveness. So write that down. Every circumstance where a borrower spent a month, they may have accrued credit towards IDR forgiveness. And this will immediately cause debt forgiveness for another 40,000 borrowers on the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Write that down. Public Service Loan Forgiveness. A further 3.6 million borrowers will get at least 3 years of retroactive credit towards loan forgiveness. That's a lot. So there's a lot going on there. If you missed what happened earlier, days earlier, is the White House said that if your debt is in default, it'll be put into good standing. Then the White House also said that if your debts were to be repaid starting the month of May, hold off. They're not being due until September. They gave you an extra moratorium. This is on top of the original news from the White House that student loan debts are forgiven for individuals who became disabled after graduation, went to work in the nonprofit sector after graduation, went to work in the public sector after graduation. A lot of changing developing details on that front across the board. Meantime, the White House is really not done with that at all. Please understand that in 7 days, the White House has suddenly had 6 announcements. I think it's 6 announcements in 7 days. Literally every single day there's an announcement about student loan debt forgiveness. The White House is really, I think in my opinion, piecemealing it, which is fine. It's doing one item and another. So it's not doing a blanket forgiveness, but it's going one item and another, and you're going to likely get picked up on one of the items. Where do you find out more of these details? Go to the Education Department, the Department of Education's website. It's the federal website, so it's going to have a .gov at the end of it. And there's likely a press release every single moment that something goes out with a link into the program to apply for the forgiveness or get the qualifications. It's a lot for me to even digest, so I think it may be beyond my scope of expertise. I don't do loan forgiveness. But I want to route you to where it is and give you the breaking news whenever it happens. In the second half of this video, we're going to go over checks. Joe Biden is not only doing student loan forgiveness, he is also doing checks. He has now sent out not 1, not 2, but 3 massive checks. They've landed. I'll show you how to get them. They are incredible. They involve an effort by you to get those checks. Then we have one state that says, we got extra money left over for the American Rescue Plan, the third stimulus. We're going to send out a check potentially to our citizens. This is not the only state that could be doing this in the next few days. Very exciting news. It's coming up after the commercial break. Then we'll go back into the Build Back Better Act. We'll go over those 3 clusters of checks and 3 add-ons of checks, how you get them, what's at issue. And then we'll go over the big sums of money. We'll start totaling up these monies, and we'll understand whether checks overlap or don't overlap. And then we'll be going over to 6 stimulus. We'll be looking at what's going on with Germany, France, United States. That's the latest stimulus package and how big it will be. We're just getting started on a big, bold, beautiful day of Afternoons L8. For April 20th, 2022, I'll be back with you in 60 seconds with those big new stimulus checks. Get your pen and paper ready. It's breaking news today. Stay with me. But first, here's a little bit about the community page for members. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LA Daily for the excitement of the new LA Live Daily. The excitement starts on mornings LA at 9 a.m. Home LA returns at 11 a.m. daily. And and then afternoons LA Late at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LA Late. And the excitement continues on a big afternoon of Afternoons LA. We're going to go over those incredible details of new stimulus checks that have landed, and we're going to go over each of them one at a time. Have you become a member? You need to become a member right now because that membership link is in the top of the chat and the pinned comment. Become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP because the membership is where you find these big checks. They're featured in the membership newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Let's go over those big checks today. The President of the United States is doing things by executive action, executive order, every left and right step. He did it with the student loan debt forgiveness over the last 7 days, 6 announcements in 7 days, and now he's doing the stimulus checks. He understands that the midterm elections are right around the corner, and wherever he can get a check out of something, he's doing it. So what has he done? First, the President of the United States is taking items out of the Build Back Better Act and sending out those checks. And the first one is good. The second one is even better. And the third one is the best. The situation is absolutely incredible. So get that pen and paper ready right now, and let's get ready to pounce. If it looks like something, it should remind you of something. Day one of this channel, when this channel launched April 20th, 2025, I was on an empty lockdown beach of Hermosa Beach, and I said, there's a thing called EIDL. Let me show you how to get it. An EIDL grant. Let me show you how to get it. A PPP. Let me show you how to get it. And a PUA and a UI. Let me show you how to get it. The smallest of all the items was $10,000. The largest of the items was as large as you could make it, $500,000. And I showed viewers how to get it. They took notes. They delivered me questions. I answered the questions, and they pounced. Now, we're right back to where we started on day one of this channel. Because guess what? That's what the White House is doing. Massive, big checks. And you got to pounce. You got to get your pen and paper. Get ready to ask for these checks. Get ready to apply for these checks. And get ready to get them today. Now, something I want to make very hard and heavy and tight and clear is you got to move quickly. Have you become a member? Become a member. Have you got to the newsletter? Get the newsletter. Have you applied? Apply. No time to hem and haw or think or swim. You need to pounce right away because these programs will run out of money eventually. And every day you don't apply, you're wasting your opportunity of getting big sums of checks. What are these checks? The first check was in the Build Back Better Act, and the President of the United States took it out. It was in the second cluster, and it was money for the home. And that check is huge. In some states, it's $12,000. But in most states, it's $6,500. What is that check? It's Check A. Check A of $6,500 became law on March 31st when Joseph Biden took it out of the Build Back Better Act. What is it? It's a $6,500, $12,000 check. It's a forced stimulus check. It is law. It became law by executive action. And what is it called? It's the Homeowners Weatherizing Grant Check. It's a grant. It's not a loan. You don't have to repay it back. There's no credit check. It's not income. It does not disqualify you from benefits. What is the income qualification? The same as a stimulus check. Single individual, $75,000 less, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you get it. Double it. Family for it, you get it as well. Quadruple it. No. You don't quadruple it and you don't double it. It's per household. It's $6,500 to $12,000. Now, here's what you need to know, is that to get it, you need £2. What do? You become a member. Go to the top of the chat, the pinned comment. Become a member right today. Get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Then go into that incredible newsletter and go right down in it, and it'll feature that big check. It'll detail more about the items in that check, and then it'll have the link. You click the link and you go right in to apply. You can apply on your cell phone. You can apply on a computer. And it'll send you to the national website. You click on the respective state, like Tennessee, and then you're routed to the state of Tennessee. You choose the Homeowners Weatherizing Grant in Tennessee, and you pounce. You apply, and you get funded. $6,500. Some say it's a little bit more across the board. That is Check A, a forced stimulus check, now law. It's huge. It's bigger than the first, second, and third stimulus check combined. Now, let's look at the second check that Joe Biden made law. It's Check B. That was made law on March 4th. It's important to know that look at the date, March 4th. It's going to run out. So don't wait to get a membership signed up. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP, and get that newsletter. Let's go over that Check B right now. Yeah, you see right, it is a lot of money. It's $15,000 to $80,000. One of the biggest payout of items I've ever seen on this channel. This fourth stimulus check is a single individual, $75,000 less, you can get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you can get it. If you're on benefits like Social Security or SSI or SSDI veterans benefits, you can get it as well. It's a homeowner's grant for homeowners. So like that Check A, you go into Check B in the newsletter. It's right under Check A. Look for it, then learn about it, because it pays for a lot of other things like repairs of the home, like property taxes. And click the link and it goes right into the national website. Then you choose your respective state on a map. And once on that map, choose your respective state and you go right into your state and you apply. And once you're approved and you get funded within about 7 days, one good long-time viewer who had gotten over $100,000 from third stimulus is on SSI, got another huge $66,000 from this as well. That is Check B. There you go, is Check B. Now let's go to Check C. Check C is an MSC check program. Monthly, payout. Monthly stimulus check. Let's go over the details of that Check C right now. This is third stimulus. Just like I had said to you earlier in this recording, there's a lot of money left from third stimulus. There is a lot of money left from that American Rescue Plan. And now what's happening is that viewers who are getting money from third stimulus over the last year for rent, utilities, and mortgages are now getting it over a year, averaging $2,000 a month. Let's go over the details right now. How did this happen? It happened in late 2020 when there wasn't a lot of money around, and my job is to get you money. Think of the pandemic, wasn't a lot of money around. It was the holidays, you needed money. So I said, I found this thing like rent and utilities. Try to get some of this. And mortgages, try to go get it. Viewers did. Then, in late December 2020, I had a preview of a piece of legislation coming for the next year. I coined the expression third stimulus. I coined the expression for fourth and fifth and seventh as well. And I said, there's this new potential bill next year, and it has a lot of money in there. Guess what? I'm going to train you how to get that money. Viewers said, absolutely, LA. You train me how to get the money. If you've been on this channel since day one, I've been doing this recording for this money in its form, but with different names, for over a year and a half. Let's look at the success stories that people got for this money then and now. Huge. Look at this rent, $20,000 to $30,000. Let's look at the utilities. It's actually higher. Viewers have gotten $15,000. Let's look at the SNAP. It's actually higher. Viewers have gotten $25,000. Over 10 years, $250,000. Let's look at the combos. It's actually higher than $32,000 because guess ready for this one. Mark was at $50,000. Now he's at $100,000. Then he got more money. He's at $166,000. Let's look at range. She was at $105,000. Now she's at $120,000. I have Johnny who helped over dozens of people and friends and family getting those friends and family collectively over $300,000. I have to look at my notes. I think it was $320,000. It's astronomical. This is these MSC checks. What's at issue? What happened is that since January of this year, I said, go get another round. Go get some 3 to 4 more months. If yours said 3 or 4 more months, I'll just get a whole year. A whole year? Okay, go get a whole year. And they did. They got a whole year, $2,000 a month thereafter. Now let's make very clear. You can do this. You can do this. You get that phone and you get that pen and you get the paper. It requires no basic understanding of anything to get this. You don't have to know a computer. You don't have to own a computer. You don't have to know anything sophisticated. All you got to do is become a member at the top of the channel, the pinned comment, because guess what? The members have access to more places to get the money. Let's go over where you get these big sums of money right now. You're going to reach out to your city hall, your city house authority, your county hall, and your county house authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage utility assistance because of COVID. But hold up, you're also going to reach out to your state hall and your state house authority. And if you're a member, you're also going to reach out to the nonprofits. Now, in that If you're not a member, you're going to reach out to 6 places. But if you're a member, you're going to have an additional half dozen places to reach out to. So members will have upwards of 15 places to reach out to. If you're a member, you need to have reached out to at least 15 places. Why would you not? Then put multiple applications on file. Do multiple rounds. Well, at least do 12 months, because that's what we're doing now, and see that membership newsletter for more. That is what you're looking for in that membership newsletter, the nonprofits, because you're going to reach out to your city, county, state times 2. That's 6. Then the nonprofits, that's going to be another 6, another 10. Yeah, that brings you a lot more places to reach out to and a lot more money. Oh, baby. Then rely on those nonprofits, because get it right today. Viewers have gotten so much money for this big money from this big third stimulus. Do it right today. You deserve it. Get these big sums of money. Average viewer of this channel is getting $45,000. Don't wait and get it today. And again, do not wait. The breaking news is that third stimulus has a lot of money. In the case of Pennsylvania, they're saying we have a lot of money left over from the third stimulus. So they're proposing now to potentially give a $2,000 stimulus check to its citizens. Huge, because guess what? When you look at check C, it is left over from third stimulus. Third stimulus has leftovers from check for C and MSC check. And now, in the case of Pennsylvania, they're saying we have leftover money from third stimulus, and we're potentially sending out $2,000 stimulus check. Wow. If other state stimulus checks are announced or considered to be announced, I'll feature them on this channel as they come in. Meantime, what's going on with that 6th stimulus? What's going on with that 6th stimulus is we have a lot of agendas going on at the same time. Deutsche Bank in the last, I think it was 72 hours, said Germany has to do a stimulus package or they're going into recession. I've been saying that for a while. Remember, Anthony Blinken, your Secretary of State, reached out to Germany, France, the week 1 of the Putin invasion of Ukraine, saying get off of those Russian products like oil. They said no. Then he pushed. They said yes. Then they said no again. At the time of that yes, they were talking about doing the biggest stimulus package of a generation, because guess what? Their economy, our economy, none of the Western Allies' economies can sustain these prices of gasoline and wheat indefinitely. If we go into the month of May with these numbers, we go into recession for 2 years. So the recessionary solution to it is by deficit spending. Increase in deficit spending to give citizens money so that they can afford the situation across the board. My commentary today for April 20th, 2022 is that because you've been watching me for 2 years, that the way I number stimulus packages is just a numbering system. I can give them colors, I can give them numbers, I can give them the names of furry animals, but I give them a numbering system. Does not mean that third has to be done before we go to fourth, that fourth has to finish before seventh. No, that's not how it works. But I want to tell you something new today for April 20, 2022 to end this video with, is that you're likely to see 6 stimulus sort of morph into maybe something else. I'm not saying it will, but I think it's starting to become likely. That statement by Pennsylvania saying we have leftover money from third stimulus, we're going to send out a check now, which is sort of like a 6 stimulus approach. What they're saying there is that in that state, you can't afford the price of gasoline and the price of wheat, so we're giving you a stimulus check that's left over third. Is that confusing? It sounds a little bit because it's overlapping. Just go with the flow. Don't worry so much. In the case of pouncing and getting checks, that's where you're focused. When I'm delivering the news, don't worry where that stimulus package is called, whether it's a 6 or it's a modification of fourth. Certainly, they can modify Build Back Better Act to merge it with 6. They could do that as across the board. But don't worry about how the systems are numbered. Just worry about the programs. And with that, let's go to Build Back Better Act. Let's go to Build Back Better Act. It has 3 classes of checks, 3 add-ons of checks. And the credible checks in that Build Back Better Act are not a law. They're currently sitting in the Senate. But insiders believe that the vote will be called in the month of April. Let's look at those big checks in the Build Back Better Act right now. How much are those checks worth? About $15,000 to $80,000. And those checks are, of course, across 3 clusters and 3 add-ons. Let's look at that first cluster. That first cluster is hazard pay. And that is 1 more year of the earned income tax credit. Then $4,000 of elder care. Then $4,000 of care for young children. $3,600 checks for the CTC, 1 more year. Then the $550 check for the college students, the Pell Grant. Then money for nutrition, plus $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle, Wow, that is huge. That is the first of 3 clusters in the Build Back Better Act. The first add-on checks is a little bit less than $25,000 for the purchase of your first home. That's huge. How do you get that? That's featured tonight on Evenings LA in prime time. Tune in tonight. I'll go over that in detail at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. In cluster number 2, we have paid leave and home repairs. Now, these home repairs have been taken out. These, of course, are Check A. I told you that Joe Biden was removing a lot of stuff from this Build Back Better Act. This is Check A. He took this out of second cluster. These home repairs to weatherize your home. Let's now go to the second add-on of checks to the Build Back Better Act. The second add-on to checks is even better across the board. They are huge. Now, paid leave is still staying in that second cluster, but when we go to that second add-on checks, it's a little bit less than $250 billion of free home health care for seniors and people with disabilities. Let's go to that third cluster of checks. It is seniors checks, farmers checks, independent contractor checks. Seniors getting lots of checks, dental, vision, and hearing, and also the Medicaid gap fix, the lowering the eligibility in Medicare, which is part of, course, when we're talking about adding checks to the Build Back Better Act. The other checks they represent, they would add in there are MSC checks, monthly IRS stimulus checks. Now, what's important for you to know is that the MSC checks proposed in Build Back Better Act are actually less than the real checks that members of this channel are getting right today. Have you become a member? Become a member. The link's at the top of the chat. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP to get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday. Why is that newsletter so important? Because it also goes over that Check C. Let's look at that Check C. The viewership of this channel is getting on average $45,000 of MSC checks. Many viewers are getting $150,000. I've had viewers getting over $150,000. But in recent days and weeks, they've gotten $2,000 a month over 12 months. That is a lot more money than Build Back Better Act proposes. First, it's more monthly, and then it's more months. So that's pretty simple to digest. And it's available right now. It's been available for a long time, and viewers keep on defying my understanding of it, because when it became law, I said you can get about 15,000. They got 45,000. Then I said get another round in January 2022. They said, no, I'm not going to do another 3 to 4 months. I'm going to do a whole year. Then I had some viewers get multiple years. Yeah, this is the true spirit of the Purple Power. I can educate you, but you can also take the information and run with it and do bigger, better numbers than ever before. Have you become a member? That's why you become a member, because guess what? I go over more about where to get these MSC checks from Check C in the membership newsletter. That membership newsletter breaks it down, because I know in a 1-hour video, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in one video, and it may be too quick for you to take notes. Ultimately, someone's always asking me, why do you have to become a member? You don't, if you take really quick, fast notes. But most people can't take the notes of what's covered in this video. So become a member. Get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, delivered via the YouTube alert system. It goes over those MSC checks, how to get them. It goes over the $15,000 to $80,000 checks, how to get them. It goes over the $6,500 checks, how to get them. When we look at that check A, B, and C, if you're a renter, you can get check C. If you're a homeowner, you can get check A and B. If you're on benefits, you can get all of these checks. Absolutely incredible. And look at those huge sums of money. They are bigger and bolder combined than anything that is in Build Back Better Act. Tonight on News LA, I'm back with a brand new show for April 20th, 2022. We'll be going over the latest details of why there's a change of policy in the White House to refocus on domestic agenda, and that's big. Why? That student loan debt forgiveness has gotten so much debt forgiven in just 7 days, with those 6 announcements in just 7 days. And why did OPEC really try to push us against the wall? And what is the White House doing on that front? We're getting to a lot of major developing details tonight, whether it's the mortgage rates or the student loan debt forgiveness. Huge details. It's 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I look forward to seeing you then. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.